about raising kids in Indonesia, when Ibu said, they get to be children much longer, right? Then we have these comments from the viewers where it's so difficult to kick them out after because they're so comfortable staying in the house, right? That's one. And the second one is how a lot of Indonesians feel like, raising kids in Indonesia, the benefit is actually, you have a lot of help or you can afford helps. It's much more cheaper compared to the Western country. But then you said, but I don't want that my kids grow up with their nannies or their helpers or whatever. And a lot of people now opt to actually do it themselves and without any help at all, which I actually found confusing because, I've seen the ladies in the Western country where it's so stressful. You can't sleep. You feel tired all the time. What do you guys think about this?
I think being the mom is one of the toughest jobs in the world, honestly.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, you're sleep deprived, you're stressed, you don't really know what you're doing the first time around. So if anybody wants to give me help at that time, I was like all for it. How the child reacts to it, I think it's totally about the quality time that you spend with your children. So in practicality, can you spend 24/7 with your children? Probably not.
Yeah.
But when you are with the child, being there, being attentive in what they're doing, reading them a storybook or whatever, that is what's going to build the relationship with the child.
Yeah.
Not about that you're there 24/7, but you're on your phone.
Yeah.
You're not going to have a good relationship with your child.
Yeah.
So I think it's about how proactive are you being involved in their day-to-day life.
Yeah.
I mean, I just told you the story like off camera earlier, is where my husband and I both made each other this promise before we even got pregnant that we want to be the person the kids call out to when they need help. So we've both been working in the ER and we have seen tons of times where the kid comes in with a fever, diarrhea or something like that. And then I would ask like the mom, hey, how long is the child having the fever? And the mom is, I don't know. She's asking the nanny. So I ended up having the conversation with the nanny of the fever, diarrhea, and all those things because the mom is unable to answer it. Because the nanny is the primary caregiver in this case.
Yeah.
And also then the baby or the kid is asking for gendong, but not to the mom, but to the nanny. And my husband and I said since the beginning, we don't want that. We want help. Because honestly, there's nothing nicer when you're tired. Somebody helps you to clean the house, who does the laundry and all those things, that, like you mentioned, you actually have time to spend quality time with the kids and be there, even though it might be only half an hour because you're working or something like that, but 100%, and not just half where you're still doing basically the laundry and cooking, and then, it's fine what you did. So just really spend maybe a shorter period of time with the kids, but 100% that the kid takes you for full and appreciates you for who you are.
So what about the other question when they said, it's difficult to kick, or they would stay comfortable for as long as possible when they're adult at home, right? I mean, I don't know about you, but are you planning to kick your kids out when they're 18?
I think it depends. I mean, kicking out, I think it sounds very harsh.
Not kicking out, but letting them, be independent.
I once read a quote somewhere, and I'm paraphrasing here, but it was something like, give your kids wings so they can leave the nest, but not the root, they can always come back to you. So that's what I'm trying to do, where, I mean, if they would be studying close by, then why spend the money on a course close by instead of just stay home with us? But on the other hand, I would like for them to move abroad. So that means they have to move away and do their own things. So it's my responsibility already now to kind of, train them to really like what you have to do the dishes, how does a washing machine work? It's pressing the buttons, folding your clothes, those small things. I think will help them really later on to get independent, that they actually later on be like, hey, I want to be independent, and mom, sit down, let me take care of you, instead of me taking care of them.
Yeah.
I agree that teaching a child to be independent is necessary. But this is one of the issues that I think Indonesians get this right, in that I feel, and I think most Indonesians feel, that they will always be parents.
Yeah.
Forever, you will always be a parent. And so I want my house to be somewhere where you can always come back to. I'm always going to be supportive of you. Do I want you to do your own thing and be independent? Yes. But where you do that, if you want to stay with me, it's good. If you want your own house, it's good. I think because of society now, for financial reasons, a lot of times it may not be necessary. And you have multi-generation families within a home, just out of practicality. But is it something that you should force your children into? In my opinion, no.
Okay. Okay, the next question is, do you ever see yourself returning to your home country?
Yes and no. So every time I go back to Germany, it's like, oh, this is so nice here. You have this and that. And I actually do miss sometimes putting on a sweater. Like just having that. But then after being in Germany for a long time, it's like, oh man, I really miss a nice spicy nasi goreng. So they're like both worlds inside me. And I think it's wrong to say you're always deciding for either or. So I'm living right now in Indonesia, yes, but I'm also living here with my German values, with my German mindsets. And if I would be now living in Germany, I would still take my Indonesian mindsets, my Indonesian cooking, which I don't really have, but still like certain things with me. So there would never ever be like an either or. And even though if I would be living in Germany, I would always come back to Indonesia to visit, because this country is huge and I have my family here and I have my family in Germany. So it's hard to say. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the future is going to bring me. So I think I will always be somehow in the middle of, but never one or the other.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about you?
Now that I have two of my daughters that are living overseas, of course, there's a huge draw for me to want to return to Canada. But as you mentioned, whether you're going to stay completely in one country or completely in another, because I also have a daughter here, that you're torn.
Yeah.
Best case scenario, even amounts a time overseas, even amounts here. But practicality, again, I'm working here, so it requires me to spend more of my time in Indonesia. But I don't think that you can ever totally forget or separate where you're from or what your preference is. We're a result of a mixture.
Exactly. Yeah. So this goes to my next question, where as a mother in a foreign country, you naturally become the gatekeeper of your culture, right? Of your own culture. So what aspect of your home culture do you insist, like German culture or Canadian culture, keeping alive in the household?
That's a good one. What do I insist? I think directness, honestly. I mean, my husband is from Jogja. He's an exception, so he's not like that. But coming from Jogja, people like to beat around the bush a lot.
Yeah.
And I really do value when I get dressed and my kids say, "Mom, you can't wear that." And they're telling me really like, "Please, can you change?"
Okay.
And they're not scared of it. So whatever it is, they can always be direct. They don't have to sugarcoat it. And be honest with me, and don't fear that, oh, just because I'm the mom, you have to now like somehow like hide it and be scared to say anything. Yeah, so I think that's a value which is very, very important in our household.
Yeah. How about you?
I insisted that they had to speak English.
Okay.
So I insisted that you had to know English and you had to speak it well, again, knowing what I had planned for their future. And then also I really insisted that we celebrate holidays. we're Christian, and so we celebrated Easter, or we celebrated Christmas, or in our case we celebrated Halloween. 30 years ago, trying to celebrate Halloween in Indonesia was challenging.
Might as well just invite the ghost, like a real ghost.
So, we would decorate our house and turn off the lights and light up candles. And the next door neighbors thought that there was something very strange going on next door. But I insisted making those memories around those holidays for my children. And it took effort. Like, you had to make it happen. But I think now that they're giving me feedback as to, their memories and their childhood, that it was definitely appreciated. So those are things that we have to celebrate birthdays, we have to celebrate holidays, and you really have to speak English well.
I think with you, it's same like me, because our kids are in the German school. So kind of easier, because the school actually had all those celebrations, right? The Lantern Festival, and then what else?
Weihnachtsfest.
Yes. So even the Christmas, right? So it helps a little bit, no?
It 100% does help, because Lapianfest is something you cannot celebrate alone. Even though my husband is Muslim and the kid as well, we still have our Christmas tree and we put it up, and we never make a big deal out of it, but we still do those things, because what I value about Christmas is not necessarily the birth of Jesus, but it's actually that the family gets together. And that. So, yes, I mean, the school 100% helped with that, and it's because it's celebrated on a much bigger scale than just us 5 at home. It gives a kid also another appreciation, and it's really cute. I mean, I'm sure as well, like when your little one comes home and sings the songs in Home Lapianfest, it's just adorable, because we don't really speak German at home, and then it's really hard for me to also like pass those songs on and so forth, and the kids really enjoy that.
Okay, so next question. You might be familiar with the term ikut campur in Bahasa Indonesia, and this happens quite frequently in family life. So has it ever happened? I'm sure it ever happened, but how do you set boundaries in other people ikut campur in your family life?
In our case, unfortunately, his parents weren't alive that long after we had children. So I didn't have in-laws.
Okay.
And I consider that a bad thing. I'm sad that my children didn't really get to know their grandparents. But we are coming from a big family. But I'm very fortunate, I think, that his family was very respectful of me and my privacy, in that they didn't really ikut campur that much. And they sort of left me to do what I wanted to do. I think many times this isn't just a mixed marriage issue. I think it's a family issue that in-laws tend to ikut campur a lot here, because in most cases, I think they want to share their knowledge or their best thoughts towards you, but it can become, taken as meddling. But in my case, very fortunate in that, I was kind of left alone, and you do what you need to do.
There's not even a neighbor ikut campur, ya? Tetangga.
But I think in my case, and I think in yours as well, I'm a strong enough person that this is good for me, and you can say what you want, but I'm going to do it like this anyway. Like insisting that my child ate in a high chair. Like many Indonesian children were allowed to run around and diswapin and apa, but for me that wasn't happening. You need to sit in the high chair, and I was of such a strong will that this is what suits me and what I'm going to do. So I wasn't really affected with orang ngomong apa atau you ikut campur. This is urusan saya dan ini semau saya.
Yes, I do agree with you. I mean, luckily, like my mother-in-law never really like interfered too much with it. Neighbors, I do know they're talking a lot about me when I was living back in Georgia. I'm also pretty sure that maybe my extended family might be talking about me, but I don't think it comes from a bad place in the heart. I think it's more like curiosity, because I do things differently than they're used to. And a lot of things, it's more they're questioning it. And actually, all they want to do is give advice.
Yeah.
So that, like, hey, like you mentioned, like before, like when your son has fever, you put the bawang on top of the hat because that's what you do and it helps. So I always listen to the advice. I smile, I say thank you, and then I do it my way at home, the way how I want.
Yeah, okay. Now, going also to that, saying about being bullied, right? Being foreign in this country, raising your children, mixed marriage and everything. Have you encountered a situation where your action seemed normal for you, but then viewed as unusual atau aneh gitu kan by Indonesian?
All the time.
Yeah. You still remember? Maybe like...
I think one was I didn't want my kids to... I didn't want to carry them.
Okay.
Not, of course, like if anything happened, they fell down. Of course, I carry my kid. I mean, that's maybe... but you see a lot of Indonesians carrying their kids.
Like gendong.
Gendong.
All the time.
All the time. And I was like, no. Put the child on the floor. Let it move. So, like, it's really important for the kid to just, like, start crawling and all those things because I wanted to hit the milestones.
Yeah.
But here, it's carrying equals love and affection. And for them, when I put down my kids, means I don't love the child. But I was like, no, it's actually the other way around. I love it so much, it's why I'm putting it down. So that, I think, is one of the biggest things. But I was like, no, peace. You can hug my kid, you can carry it a short time, but put it back down.
Yeah. And you?
I'm a very do-it-yourself type of person.
Yeah.
And so if I'm going to do something or whatever, I'm very hands-on.
Yeah.
Early on with like birthday parties,
Yeah.
I would make the games, I would make the goodie bags, I would plan the party myself. And my friends or colleagues were saying, why? Suruh aja. Suruh aja. But I didn't want to suruh aja because I wanted to be part of it, right? And so sometimes when I know I can do it the way that I want it done, I would do it myself.
Yeah.
Whereas often, the solution for birthday parties was, okay, kita ke BM atau kita ke McDonald's.
Yeah.
And the kids would sit down in a row and patiently wait for something to happen where I wanted them to have fun and play games and do things. So I often got criticized about kenapa nggak suruh aja.
Okay.
Yeah. Not my style.
Did you guys sleep train your kids like in a separate room, or did you have them until a certain age, until they're ready? This is also something that I think we adapt from the Western culture, right? I remember back then when, well, I still have my kids until they're like 3 or 4 sleeping with us, There's no, nothing is right or wrong. It really depends on you. But do you do sleep training? That's my question 1. And it's, answer it first, then I have another question.
Okay. So for my first pregnancy, I had twins. So I did have a baby crib, basically right next to my bed.
Okay.
Because it was more a matter of like, I would breastfeed them, and I was too lazy, basically, to get up, go to the other room, and cater to their needs. So it was easier for me to just take the crib, get it out of the bed, take care of them, and then put it back, and then I could go back to sleep as well.
Yeah.
If I would have that in the bed, because the bed I used to have back then was quite high, it would have just fallen out.
Yeah.
So it was more a practicality thing there. Then for the third child, she was basically just on a mattress, also close to me. Same reason again, because I was too lazy.
Yeah.
Because if she would wake up in the middle of the night, then I could just like give her the bottle or breastfeed her accordingly, and then I could also go back to sleep.
Yeah.
But they always had their own bed, but it was in the same room right next to my bed. And then of course, even now, if anything comes up, I don't care how big they are, if they're scared or anything happens or they're sick, then it's either me sleeping with the kid in the bathroom, in the guest room, or we would kick out my husband and then the kid. So we would have space.
Yeah.
Because, as a mom, we just want the best for your kids. So I never really sleep trained them in that way and say like, hey, tonight you have to go 100%. It's just you. I think every child is different.
Yeah.
So every child has different needs, and I think you have to cater to the child's needs less than actually like having a hard deadline when a kid should be sleeping alone in their own room and stuff like that.
Yeah. How about you, Vijay?
So for us, we used a nanny.
Yeah.
Slept in a separate room. We slept in our bedroom. If there was extended crying periods, of course, we'd get up to see what was the problem. But for me, I think it's also important that the couple has time for themselves, not always with the children. I mean, that was our choice. Every family is different how they handle this, but that's what worked for us.
Okay. One last question about the child, right? Remember, when you... No, but... Remember when the kids are still babies or toddlers, and then you come to a family event or whatever, and then, some random auntie will come and say, oh, lucu banget. And then they just, how did you feel about this? And then how did you tell them, hey, please, don't do that, especially when they're still like really a small baby where everybody just wants to gendong them and cium them and everything. Now we learn that actually not good. It's actually not good when you just had a baby. You have so many visitors that can bring a lot of virus. I only know this, maybe the last 10 years.
I cannot tell you how many fights in the supermarket I had about this.
Yes.
Because when you're bringing a small, cute, foreign-looking child with curly hair, ibu-ibu gemas, mau cubit this. And my girls were chubby, so even better for pinching their cheeks out of affection.
Yes.
I learned that it was out of affection, right? But as a mother, again, protection mode comes in, and you could see it coming, right? You could see the incoming pinch, and it was like, maaf, dia nggak begitu suka. So it was a prevention rather than letting it happen, but it happened frequently with mine, and you just have to politely decline. Thank you. I appreciate your acknowledgement that the child is pretty or cute.
Yeah.
But please don't touch. She doesn't like it.
Yeah. And
at the same, I think it's an amazing skill you develop to just like come in or get like, I can't even how it was. I had to like slap the hand. That sounds like cool. It never really was an issue. I think only once where we were actually at McDonald's and somebody, so I had the little one in the baby carrier like right here, and somebody just tried to come in here and in my own privacy. And I slapped her and she got mad at me, and I was like, hey, I don't know where your fingers has been. This little girl here is sleeping. If you will touch her, she's gonna wake up. I'm the one who has to sue her back to basically sleeping mode. And then I told her the reason behind it, and it took her a while. First she was shocked.
And this is like strangers. They're not even a family.
No, this is a stranger. I think she was shocked first by me like basically pushing her hand away. Second, of me all of a sudden speaking Bahasa Indonesia to her.
Yeah.
And third, you could see like, oh, benar juga ya. So they were like, you could really see in her face all those three stages of like shock, and then oh yeah, toh. So
Processing and then
reasoning what's happening and so forth. Because like you said, you said like it's affection, and I totally agree, but it's also not knowing that it actually can harm.
Yeah.
And we have a friend who, both are foreigners, really cute blonde girl, long hair. She actually has a skill. When I was working her was in the mall, she would dodge. So you could really see her like going
the
child. Yeah. So she had that skill of like walking, and then instantly and then nobody could touch it. You could see the people how shocked that they were unable to reach her.
Yeah. This is something that you will not find in Canada or in Germany.
Because I mean, I wouldn't dream of touching somebody else's child knowing that that person would be offended by that, right? Here, out of affection, I get it, but yeah.
But here, it even like it's more like the other way, that they're expecting you also in a way where, let's say, like an extended family member has a baby, "Mau digendong?" and they just give you the child. Yeah, okay. I'm a stranger, but hi. I mean, like, I have no problem holding a child, but
I think more of, like, they were naive because there's no knowledge about, you know, you need to protect your child, and that, you know, until a certain age, there's no immunity, you know, the child. So that was, yeah, I think they just learn it nowadays from TikTok or Instagram.
COVID.
COVID, yes, exactly. About discrimination, living in Indonesia, you know, if you are an immigrant, a foreign living in Europe, in Germany, let's say, there is a little bit of discrimination, I feel, right? But, you know, coming here, I think it's really the other way around. And correct me if I'm wrong, Eugene, but 20, 30 years ago, Indonesians saw foreigners like somewhat a god, you know, and they're scared. And I don't know, you know, there's a different level of admiration, maybe, or I don't know, that they are more superior than Indonesian, right? So what do you feel about this?